a budget is probably the best way you can manage your money and live successfully. RamseySolutions.com has the simplest budget, really takes care of the four basic things you need to survive. And that's going to be food in this order: food, utilities, and that includes both electricity and water, shelter, and then transportation. Utilities and shelter, really you need shelter more than utilities, but utilities comes first because shelter tends to be easier to work through with, but utilities can get shut off very quickly if you don't pay for that first. So these are the four basic things you really need to have, though, in any budget. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful with that budget. To start off with the budget, you always need to have your income. This is how much your money you're making, because that's where you get your money from. And if you make $20 an hour and you work 80 hours in a week, in a 2-week period, your gross pay is going to be the money that you make from this. If it's $20 for every hour and you work 80 hours, that's the same thing as saying $20 times 80, which is going to be $1,600. That is the gross pay on your paycheck. You don't actually get $1,600, but that's how much is owed to you if you did get the full amount. We'll talk about why you don't get that full amount in just a moment. Now, let's say instead of working hourly, you make a salary and you get paid $60,000 a year. Now, let's just assume that for a moment that you're getting paid a single paycheck each month. That means there are 12 months in the year, so you're gonna get 12 paychecks, and each one's gonna be an equal portion of the 60,000. So each paycheck is going to be 60,000 divided by, because we're splitting this up equally into 12 paychecks, divided by 12. If you do it on a calculator, you're going to see you're going to get $5,000. That's the gross pay for a single paycheck. Okay, now the question is, of course, is how much how much do you pay per month on each one of these things? And this will take a little bit of calculating and finding the data for yourself, because this varies so wildly by person. But let's just use, average amounts. It may be more or less depending on who you are. But on food, let's just say a person spends something like $200 per month, just for one person. That may be too low, maybe too high for some, but just we have to have some number. It really depends on you paying attention to how much do you spend per month, and that way you can make your own personalized budget. That's what a budget is for, being personalized. Now, rent, this can again vary wildly, but let's just say, to give some kind of number, $1,000 per month for rent. Utilities, really it depends on what you're paying. If like, for instance, your rent includes water or electricity or both or neither, it all really depends. Let's just give a ballpark number and say $150. And transportation costs, right? This would include a car payment, gas, all those kinds of things. And this again can if you're paying for a car, this can be way larger than what I'm going to put down here. But let's just assume that we're not paying for a car, just to have some kind of number that's based on like just finding gas and then maybe like oil change money, that kind of stuff. So let's just say per month we're paying, I don't know, maybe 150 as well for gas and any kind of other, stuff you might need for a car, fluids and oil change, like I had said. Okay, the total cost for these bills is going to end up being just the sum of them all. Plus 150, plus 150. So that's going to be 300. And then 200. You can do this in whatever order since they're all adding up. You really should start left to right and add these two. It's going to be 1,200, and then add on to the 150. That's going to be 1,350, and then add on to the 150 again. That'll give you 1,500. An easier way of doing it, though, because this is all addition, we can add these two numbers together. This is going to be 300. Then add the 2 and the 300 together. It's going to be 500. And then 1,000 plus 500 is going to be 1,500. But 1,500 is our total bills that we need to pay every month. Now, suppose we have that $60,000 scenario. Each month, right, we got $5,000. And each month we're paying $1,500. That means our spending money, quote unquote spending money, not really, but our spending money would be $3,500. I just take the gross minus the bills. Of course, this isn't what we actually take home. Our actual take-home pay is called the net pay, and it's called net because there are certain things that are going to be taken out of it already before you get the paycheck, and those things, are, of course, vary widely by person. You could have insurance taken out. You could have retirement taken out of your paycheck, and then, of course, taxes. Taxes is the biggest thing. And that really depends upon the person as well, the situation, what kind of government structure is in place, how much your income is, right? Different tax brackets. Are you going to have higher or lower tax rates? If you have dependents, that will change your tax rates. Marriage, there's so many different cases, so many different circumstances that affect your tax rate. I think a lot of people pay between 18 to 25% of their gross. For the average income, what that really kind of means for our purposes, it's going to be 1/5 to 1/4 is taken out. If we suppose that 20% is taken out, that's the same thing as just saying divide the gross by 5 and subtract what you find from that. Okay, so if we're going to have $5,000 for our take-home pay, for our gross pay, we're going to multiply this, we're going to divide this by 5. That gives us $1,000. This is how much we pay in taxes. So our net pay is going to be, excluding everything else, let's just say that all that's getting taken out is taxes. We're going to take 5,000 minus 1,000. We have $4,000 is our net pay. This is how much is actually on the paycheck that gets put into our bank account. So what does our spending money look like? Well, our bills are still $1,500. That hasn't changed. So our spending money looks like $4,000 minus $1,500 equals $2,500. So this is how much you have to work with to, let's say, save money. We didn't take insurance out of this, so maybe you have renter's insurance and medical insurance to pay from this. This is how much you'd spend on clothes. This is for a whole month, right? This is all you have for a month. Any kind of additional costs that come up. Maybe you get in a wreck, you have to pay for that, or there's some kind of car issue, they have to pay for that. All of that will come out of this $2,500. That's how much you actually have. Now, what if instead of the 20% that I had said before for the tax rate, but now we have 25%? Effectively, what this is we're just going to take our gross and divide it by 4, which is $1,250. And then I would take 5,000 minus $1,250. And we get 4, so it'll be $3,750. This is our new net pay, and then we take off from this the bills. The bills is $1,500. So our actual spending money that we have is going to be, let's see, it's going to be 2,250. Really, just $250 less from what we had before. Very basic idea of budget, but that's the idea, though, is you list out your income, list out your bills, and think about all the things that you actually pay money out, and that way you can actually know how much you have to spend rather than just guessing or or using a credit card to pay for things that you don't realize you have the money for.